Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Taimur. Shamil. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan, along with the Chief of Army Staff and top officials of Pakistan Army, are visiting the United States. Prime Minister Imran Khan would be in the United States for 3 days, and he would be meeting the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Both countries, Pakistan and the United States, have been striving for peace and stability in the region. Both countries have seen ups and downs in their relationship. Both countries have been focusing on fighting extremism and terrorism in the region, and also working for peace and stability, as I said, in Afghanistan specifically. Afghanistan is a main concern for Pakistan and for the United States. Pakistan has been direct and indirect victim of the war going on in Afghanistan. Pakistan has suffered a lot, and Pakistan has also brought up this issue with the United States in the past as well. There have been some misunderstandings as well in the past between both countries. There have been some sort of grievances as well between both countries, but the prospects are bright, and both countries are now working on having peace in Afghanistan. Recently, we saw the diplomacy from the United States side with the Taliban. Several rounds of talks took place in Qatar. Sir Khalid has been visiting Pakistan very regularly, meeting the Taliban in Qatar as well. Afghanistan is a main concern for the United States. And as I said earlier, both Pakistan and the United States have been working on this. Afghanistan is also a main concern for Pakistan as well. And there have been misunderstandings, as I said. Because of these misunderstandings, the assistance that was coming to Pakistan was also cut off by the United States. That also is something that would be crucial to both Pakistan and United States. Pakistan is looking for more investment from the US. Pakistan wants better relationship with the United States, and also making it sure that this would not be at the cost of any other relationship that Pakistan has with other countries in the region or globally. Today we are going to discuss about Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to the United States, its significance, the challenges that are there between Pakistan and the United States, and the opportunities between Pakistan and US, and how can we tap the potential of each other and work for peace and stability in the region globally and in the region as well. For that, we are joined by our special guest in the studios. Our first guest is Ambassador Saeed Khalid, Pakistan's former ambassador to European Union, an expert on Pakistan's foreign policy. So welcome to the show. Our second guest is Dr. Amina Mehmood, renowned senior academic and expert on Pakistan's foreign policy and its relations with the neighboring countries and world powers as well. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mehmood. Mr. Khalid, starting with this visit, Prime Minister's first visit to the United States, though he has been very active in the region, visiting China, visiting Middle Eastern countries as well. This is his first visit to US, along with Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff, high-powered delegation for that matter. Lindsey Graham, US Senator, visited Pakistan, and he was very hopeful that if both leaders meet, this would be something significant. Looking at the personality of both leaders, the situation that I just mentioned in my introduction, how do you see this meeting that would go on in US?
First of all, I think it's always good for new governments, to sit together, to review the relations, to see the challenges, to identify the opportunities, and try to move forward from there. Well, I mean, the PTI government in Pakistan is going to complete its first year next month in August. President Trump has been there for 2.5 years, and I think it's not too early, maybe it's not too late either, that they review the relationship, the challenges, the opportunities, and some indication has already been given by Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, who is already in Washington. It seems to me that Pakistan's focus is going to be economic relations. Although the United States has blocked something like $800 million in coalition support fund, which is due to us, but it was stopped. And I think from if you want, from assistance point of view, we would like that to be unblocked and paid to Pakistan. We are not asking for more aid or loans. We are just asking them to give us a level playing field. And the foreign minister identified that. He said that the United States should revise its advisories about Pakistan, travel advisories, business advisories, because what has happened in the last 17 years, that Pakistan has lost more than $100 billion in terms of business and investment because of being America's partner in the war on so-called war on terror. It's about time to review that, specifically to revise the travel advisory, which means Pakistan would be given a better rating as a place to visit, a safer place, and a safer place to invest. And that is where Pakistan's principal interests lie.
And also, Dr. Amina, it's about narrative as well, the way Pakistan is being discussed in the United States, United States' approach towards Pakistan for that matter. There has been criticism from both sides, from United States and from Pakistan as well. There are some things that we want to discuss with US, you want to discuss with Pakistan. Afghanistan is the main concern. This time, Prime Minister meeting President Donald Trump, how do you think that things would unfold, and what are the things that we should focus on?
Yeah, I think that's a very pertinent question. Adding to what Ambassador was already discussing, that since Pakistan has been declared a safe family station by the UN, so there is no hurdle to declare the same for the US. So I think that would be helpful for US to take this stand that Pakistan is a safe station to visit family, and if it is a family station, then obviously it is good for the business as well. Now coming to your question, that Afghanistan is certainly at the center of relationship, and as we have read that there was statement by the press secretary of White House that what would be the agenda. He has pointed out 4 points, 4 main points, and rest other areas are as well. The first is counterterrorism and second is security. So we are hoping for the best, that we are looking towards the economic relation, but Afghanistan is at the core, you know, counterterrorism efforts and security of the region, both are dependent on the peace in Afghanistan. And US survival as a superpower is also dependent on Afghanistan. You know, it is very vital for the US to pull out from Afghanistan with respect, as it was the case in Vietnam. You know, at one time US tried to pull out, but it could not because it was disrespect for it to come out having communist government launched there. But same situation is here, that in Afghanistan US is trying to have a government of its own choice, that is less Taliban and more other factions, and they want to give a new political system, and that cannot be implemented without the help of Pakistan. And as they visualize that Pakistan is that only power that can use influence on Taliban to come up to some solution that is viable and acceptable for all factions. So I think that Afghanistan is at the core, and Pakistan is in a better position to help US, and that perception should prevail, because that is actually the leverage of Pakistan, and that is actually the bargaining point in international relations, as we have read. Right. So I think that is added point to Pakistan. Pakistan should focus on sustainable relationship that is based on trade, economic cooperation, and Pakistan would invite, what I have read by the statements of Mr. Imran Khan and Shah Mahmood Qureshi, that Pakistan would invite US to invest in Pakistan and have a sustainable economic relationship that would be helpful for addressing the issues in region. You know, economy is a major point to develop a region, and if there would be development, certainly terrorism would be reduced. Right. So if US want to have some sustainable relationship with Pakistan and is looking to address the issues of terrorism here, then they have to address the economy and you know, job, employment
And all
problems
these things
of
are
this.
interdependent.
These are interdependent, and they are just focusing on saying do more for counter-terrorism active, and as you know, Hafiz Saeed is he has been arrested, but they are not accepting it. Today I have read that there is a report released by the Congress, and they were actually questioning Pakistan capacity to work for counter-terrorism financing and so. But that report, I think that is very positive. I will discuss later.
Later, certainly, and this is a very important point. But before that, Ambassador Khalid, Afghanistan, as we are discussing, is a main concern for both countries. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, Afghanistan, or let's say cooperating with US vis-a-vis Afghanistan, has been a tough thing. Some experts might say a thankless job. We also received a lot of criticism for what we are doing, let's say, helping United States, as some experts say, or cooperating with the United States. This blame game should also stop somewhere. And there is trust deficit as well. How can we improve the trust between both countries? Do you think that after this meeting or this visit, we can improve on that?
I mean, I can say that this is not a perfect relationship. There have been problems, particularly on Afghanistan. The reason being that the United States, or some of the elements in the US, they think that Pakistan controls the Taliban. That Pakistan not only gives them support, but it has some tremendous influence over them, which is not true. Since Mr. Trump came from outside politics, he came from the business world, and he has no previous experience of being in Congress or being in administration. He had certain ideas. One can call them that they were rather simplistic, like saying that we have given Pakistan money and Pakistan has done nothing for us. These are very simplistic kind of statements which he made. But 2.5 years later now, obviously he understands the complexities of the situation, the power of the Taliban, the limitations of Pakistan or any other country for that matter. And I think he is more conscious of the difficulties, and we always knew the difficulties. And now that the two leaders are going to sit together, I think they will surely go over all that. For instance, the United States is very keen to have ceasefire in Afghanistan. The Taliban are very keen to have a timetable of withdrawal. Third point, that the United States is keen that the Taliban should now, they should sit with other groups in Afghanistan, with the Kabul government, and they should work for a transition which will provide participation to all elements. So this is a tall order, and there are no shortcuts. But if a date of withdrawal is given, which may be linked to Mr. Trump's re-election, and if a ceasefire is announced, that will be a lot of progress.
A lot of progress, and this would be certainly very important for President Trump, for the Republican Party as well, to work on Afghanistan, because he made a lot of promises regarding the pullout of troops from Afghanistan, which he did from Syria. But Afghanistan obviously will take time. But Afghanistan, Pakistan are working on peace and stability, Dr. Amina. There's another factor, that is India. And somehow we see that US at times, or most of the times, has been giving some sort of priority to India in the region. Regional alliances are changing, global alliances are changing. Pakistan has embarked on mega economic activity, China-Pakistan economic corridor. This priority that US gives to India, and at one point President Trump said that we would want India to play a larger role in Afghanistan. Certainly that Pakistan wouldn't welcome, because we have our own apprehensions about India's role in Afghanistan. How do you see India-US relations and its impact on Pakistan?
That is actually very, very complex relationship. There is sort of a paradox that starts from US-Pakistan relations going to US-India relations. and we see that India has been given, or India is striving for that role, the role of a policeman in the region. Especially in the wake of, as you mentioned, that OBOR and CPAC, especially China's rising role in South China Sea, where US has failed to control it because of sustainable development in the form of Asian Bank sponsored by China, giving loans to all South China Sea countries. They are having conflict with China, but at the same time China is now their sponsor, they are giving aid to them. So I think that China's policy and China's soft power is expanding, and it would continue to expand, because China is adopting a policy that is actually having fruits for all participants.
Right.
It may be less for some and more for some other, but everyone is having fruits of that partnership. But US is again stuck to its Cold War psyche of security relations and security control and using hard power. And Mr. Trump, especially when he came, by the way, Mr. Obama withdrew the forces from Iraq. It was not on the credit of Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump and Mr. Bush were following the same policies, that is actually having more engagement outside. And you want to take break?
Yes, we have Mr. Imtiaz Gul with us on the phone call. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Imtiaz Gul.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Right. Talking about Prime Minister's visit to United States, we are talking about Afghanistan as well, main concern for both Pakistan and for United States. How do you see that Prime Minister's meeting would go with President Trump and its implications for both countries and Afghanistan?
Well, I wish I had the crystal ball to foretell the outcome of the meeting, but I think we should stay optimistic. One would hope that both Imran Khan and Donald Trump, being non-conventional politicians, being a little hot-headed, very self-assertive and blunt, that this meeting may go well, that they may click as personalities, and also keeping in view that both politicians dislike, if not detest, the status quo, and they have made no secret of it. Mr. Donald Trump at home and our Prime Minister here in Pakistan, that there are certain commonalities that promise some sort of positive engagement between the two, and more so that the American president is not really acting on the behest of the traditional American security establishment, which has been whispering into the ears of successive presidents a certain narrative on Pakistan, on China. So I think here we are dealing with a president who is going by his own instincts, who has his own ideas about the internal reform of the United States, and a president who wants to extricate the United States from all wars. And I think he was too blunt in his inauguration 2 years ago, when he, in the presence of several former presidents, said that all previous governments have destroyed basically the governance structures inside the United States. He basically took a jibe on all the former presidents. So I think as a whole, one would hope that this meeting, I think, sets some new benchmarks, resets the Pakistan-US relationship, grounded in ground realities and not in geopolitics, the way successive American establishments, under the influence of the intelligence agencies and under the influence of external allies such as India, have pursued.
Right, and this coalition support fund, we don't have that anymore between Pakistan and US. That was cut off by the US President Trump. So these things that are happening, the symbols that we have seen in the past, the gestures that we have seen in the past, weren't very encouraging. Do you think that this thing would change the cooperation between both militaries, let's say, and political side as well, would improve after this?
I think coalition support fund was just a small thing, and which turned into a big irritant. And I don't think Pakistan is interested in those coalition support funds anymore.
At one point, Pakistani officers were visiting United States for their senior courses, their professional courses. That too isn't happening at the moment.
I think if you could listen to my submission, these are small things. Once big things happen, when there's big synergy of minds of the top leaders, I think these smaller things will be automatically taken care of. Right now, the challenge is how to reset the relationship, how to convince the American president that Pakistan, having suffered tens of thousands of casualties in the last 10 years, has done a lot, is doing a lot, and is planning to do furthermore as far as counterterrorism and counter-extremism is concerned, and that this change, that Pakistan is changing, but the change will be slow in view of the socio-political conditions of Pakistan. The way these conditions obstruct even the American administration from quick moves, Pakistan is equally beset by extremely severe socio-political conditions which impede a quick forward movement on issues such as religious seminary reforms, also extremism, and how to, the counter narratives as far as the right-wing religious parties are concerned. So there are a number of issues for which we are hoping that the American president probably would have a much better understanding. He would be much more receptive to what the Pakistani Prime Minister tells him, unlike the previous presidents who would just unleash this one-way express of demands, and previous prime ministers or presidents sort of felt obliged, didn't have really the courage to speak up and communicate, forcefully communicate or convey Pakistan's position. So one would hope that this meeting, I think, goes down well as far as the bilateral relationship is concerned, and sets new benchmarks for the engagement of both the political leadership as well as the militaries.
Mr. Gul, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. Mr. Imtiaz Gul was with us on the phone call, optimistic about Prime Minister's visit to United States. We'll continue our discussion on PM's visit to US and the challenges that are there for Pakistan and US and the price prospects that are there. We're going to discuss about that as well after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are discussing Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to the United States and how important this visit is for both Pakistan and US, since both Pakistan and US have been focusing on regional matters, on regional security and counterterrorism as well. But of course, there are concerns from the Pakistani side and also from the US side as well. Regional dynamics are changing, global dynamics are changing, and in these changing dynamics, both US and Pakistan want to improve their relationship. How would that go? We are discussing about that. Mr. Khalid, Pakistan-US relationship, we were also discussing about the priority that US gives to India, and because of that, the problems that are there for Pakistan. For instance, Afghanistan, Kashmir, India's stance on Kashmir, and the support that India is getting from the US side, a certain kind of narrative that is built against Pakistan from the Indian side and also from some circles in US as well. So addressing this issue of India and US looking at Pakistan through the Indian prism, how important is that?
Well, I believe that it's important for the leaders to do their homework. And if they speak, particularly at the beginning of their term, and they haven't done their homework, they can go into things like this, that India can play a great role in Afghanistan. The establishment, the military, the security people could have told Mr. Trump that this was also something which was considered after 9/11, and India was very keen to offer support services for US operations in Afghanistan. Within days, they realized that it won't work. They don't need India, they need Pakistan. So these are the things which Mr. Trump didn't know, this background knowledge. Therefore, again, this simplistic idea that India can play a major role in Afghanistan, but not quite. The main reason being that India cannot really persuade the Taliban to do anything. The only country with which Taliban have been in contact and negotiating is Pakistan. So, now that Mr. Trump is seeing the realities, the ground realities, and he's seeing the difficulties also, he knows India doesn't have a role in this.
And there is this general perception, Dr. Amina, in Pakistan and in the region that US mostly is focused on United States' own interest. Of course, all the countries are, but as long as there is that hardcore interest, US would invest time and money and whatever, but once that thing is done, they withdraw and they leave things undone, not completing the whole task. That can also become a problem for the regional countries as well. Prime Minister's visit to US, some experts are also of the view that Pakistan shouldn't commit more than it can do, or more than it can actually afford to do in Afghanistan or generally in the region. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that Prime Minister Imran Khan is a sort of person that he would straightforwardly say, we cannot do that. I expect at least from that person. And you see the history of relationship during Trump period and with the inauguration of Imran Khan in office, there had been harsh exchanges, and both are having, as Imtiaz Gul Sahab was referring to, the personality similarities. The one similarity, both are a social media person and both are quite autonomous in giving their statements without consulting their aides and government officials. And that is somehow a positive point for Pakistan as well, because the Prime Minister Imran Khan would not be bound to diplomatic, compulsions in giving his answer to Trump. He will be straightforward, because from the very beginning he is the person who has been asserting that this is not Pakistan's war. And so I think that he will not commit to have any more sacrifices on the part of Pakistan for US in exchange of nothing. And as we were talking about the coalition support fund, Pakistan has been spent that money for the last whole years, and that is the Pakistan's right. And otherwise, if they are not refunding it, then we can stop our relationship
assistance,
in a way.
because it was based on assistance.
That is
right?
Pakistan's right. Right. So another thing that it's very important for Pakistan to curtail the role of India. And Indian lobby is very efficiently working in Washington. Washington, in New Delhi, in London, and all European centers against this visit, and they have highlighted the report issued by the Congress now talking about the terrorist financing and so. So Pakistan has to counter, because when we are talking about Indian influence and US sponsorship to India in Afghanistan, we should not forget that Afghanistan is having a very cordial relationship with India, and that is the historical fact. Starting from Hijrat movement in at the time of before partition, in First World War period, that starting from that, Afghanistan never stood with the Muslims of India. They denied all their assistance, and you see the role after starting from 1947. Afghanistan has direct relation with India and not with Pakistan. It is their expediency that they cannot go anywhere and they have to migrate to Pakistan. And secondly, India's role in Afghanistan is substantial in terms of economy and development. Right. That cannot be ruled out. But that is also facilitated by Pakistan. Pakistan should review its policy of giving them land route to Afghanistan, right. Because that should be conditional with the fact that Afghanistan should reassure again and again, and then they should commit it that Afghanistan's land would not be used against Pakistan in any case by India or by US. So I think that this is the time that Prime Minister should negotiate this fact with the US President as well.
Right. Mr. Khalid, we are talking about the regional dynamics and global dynamics. Pakistan's relationship with China is strong. Both countries are collaborating on economic activity, CPEC. That might be of concern to the United States. We want peace and stability in Afghanistan because we are working on CPEC. We want peace in other parts of Pakistan, as Dr. Amina was referring to. This issue of security, Pakistan certainly has some concerns regarding India's role in Afghanistan, India's role in instigating unrest in Balochistan and other parts of Pakistan. How is US looking at Pakistan-China relationship, and would that be acceptable to US? Though the official statements are that they accept this whole thing that is going on, but what is US's approach towards CPEC and Pakistan-China relationship?
Taimur, again, it is important to know the history of this entire, web of relationships. There was a time in 1960s, in the days of President Ayub Khan, when the United States was mightily annoyed that Pakistan was developing close ties with China. And then, years later, Pakistan was the country which brought them together. The first visit by Henry Kissinger to China was arranged by Pakistan. And Mr. Chou En-lai told Kissinger that don't forget the bridge you have taken to come here. So there is a long history, but people who don't know, they don't know. They don't care to study. It's an old relationship, and I would say that we have an important partnership with the US. It has a long history. We have an important partnership, very close partnership with China. It is also very old now. And really, it is part of the present arrangements. I don't see why anyone should be perturbed about this, whether it is India or it is the United States.
So Pakistan's relationship with, or strategic relations with China would not be aimed at United States interest in the region or globally?
The United States, it arrogates to itself the task of controlling the entire world. So when you are in that kind of business, you will meet resistance here and there. And so, but they must be realistic. Trump had a business background. He believes in quick fixes and deals like a businessman, which cannot happen in interstate relations. The interests are too vital. Issues of sovereignty, all these things don't exist in business. In business, it's all right. There is a deal. This is the offer. This is the buyer. This is the seller. You see mutual interest. You shake hands. You sign the deal. Over. It doesn't happen in international relations.
But President Trump, Dr. Amna, is very unconventional in many ways. Meeting with the North Korean leader, just opening and just doing it, just going for a meeting with the North
Trumping on
Korean.
personal chemistry, basically.
Personal chemistry, and he has the ability to do that. So understanding the China situation, the rift between US and China, and also understanding the Pakistan's position in it, how do you think that US perceives Pakistan, and how would Pakistan pitch the perception from the Pakistani side?
I think that is again a very complex politics, and that would continue. You see, we have a program here on that trade war between US and China, and you see that there is no trade war exists now. That trade war which we discussed, that is a trade war that started in 1979, back in previous century. And it was on different issues. If you want to buy something from a nation, they are ready to sell, only then you can buy. What China wanted to buy from US is not ready to sell. And what China is selling, US is ready to buy, then there would be certainly imbalance in trade. If you are not selling them, then balance of trade would be out. That is the reason in bilateral relationship, and there are a number of issues, and US is having this intellectual property right dumping issue with the whole Far East, with the whole South China, ASEAN countries, and they are continuing with the same, and they are having highest trade volume with ASEAN, so these are the realities which are continuing, and that would continue. What US and what Pakistan are to earn from this visit, I think that they have to resolve their issues. Under the campaign rhetoric, Mr. Trump said that he would disengage from the whole US commitments, he will focus on US economy and so and so. But I think that it is not possible for a US president, for any of the US president, whether he is a conventional politician or a non-conventional politician, to pull out from US commitment all over the country, all over the world. They are having strong commitments. Secondly, since he is a businessman, so he knows where his interest lies, and you see the scenario of Middle East is getting more complex with the dawn of Mr. Trump in office. The US involvement in Syria, in Yemen, in even Qatar.
That recent rift with Iran.
Rift with Iran, and that is not a rhetoric alone. That is having certain repercussions for the whole region, and those repercussions are going back to, they are having their impact on Pakistan, on the whole Gulf countries and Asia. You were just referring to another policy that previously it was Asia Pacific, now it is going to Indo-Pacific, and they are obviously giving India a very potent role in this region. So
calling itself Indo-Pacific,
Indo-Pacific is itself alarming for Pakistan, because we are sitting on the mouth of Indian Ocean, and all the developments happening in Indian Ocean are having strong repercussions for Pakistan and for the whole Muslim world. Here from Pakistan onwards, that is the whole Muslim world, till Africa. So I think that this is the time that Pakistan should sit with Mr. Trump and resolve its all issues, but not at the cost of national interest. That is a fact, and nobody can deny, even the US administration, that in Afghanistan, US cannot move without Pakistan. And if they are not paying coalition support fund, we are not following coalition rules.
But I think
we can abandon it, we can rule out.
At the moment, Pakistan and US also need to focus on economy as well, economic cooperation, which is, I think, the most important thing.
What I was talking, that
moving a little away from security and this whole thing.
Actually, this is the time. Previously, when Cold War was over, Mr. Clinton announced that now there would be focused on economy. But later, with the war on terror, Americans rolled back their policy, and then they again started strategic relation. This is the time to consider for economic relations. Then that would be use of soft power, having more alliances all over the world, rather than go for a policeman role.
And this interdependency can obviously help both countries. Thank you so much for joining us. Ambassador Khalid, pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Most welcome.
Dr. Amna, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. That's all from today's dialogue. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.